right, hello friends. Honestly, I am a bit on the struggle bus right now. Yeah. So a little bit of a health update, I guess. About 2 weeks ago now, I got another vaccine and I was very nervous to get this vaccine. So I ended up getting a pneumonia 23 vaccine because we are testing, my immunologist is testing for specific antibody deficiency disorder, also known as SAD. Very apt name. Kind of a longer story of how this came about, and the outcome so far has been incredibly disappointing. So let's get into this story time. So this all started because I saw an infectious disease doctor in DC a couple of months ago, and she ordered a bunch of blood work, and one of the things that came back was my pneumonia antibodies. 20 out of 23 of them were low. And I had atypical pneumonia growing up, and unfortunately the ID doctor, after I saw her, she moved. She immediately moved to New Zealand, and so she did not even have a chance to message me about the blood work and about the results. So I took the blood work results to my rheumatologist because I didn't have anyone to interpret them for me. And my rheumatologist looked at them and she said, "This is weird. Even just going through life, you should have more antibodies than this. You have, all of them are low except 3. That's weird." So she said, "I want you to see an immunologist." I had seen an immunologist a couple of months ago, but she recommended a different immunologist. So I went to see this immunologist. She was very thorough, took a very long health history, and she said, "Yes, I agree with your rheumatologist." And my rheumatologist had mentioned the specific antibody deficiency disorder. She said, "I think we should test for this." Now, unfortunately, the test is to get a vaccine. And for those of you who have been following my story for the last more than 4 years now, 4.5 years ago, I got a quarter dose of the COVID vaccine and I reacted to it. And it really effed up my life, I'm not gonna lie. I had a much higher disabled plateau. And then after I got a quarter dose of the COVID vaccine, which they only gave me a quarter dose because they thought I was gonna react to it, or they had a high suspicion that I would react to it. After I got a quarter dose, it just felt like I just started going downhill, and my baseline got lower and lower, and my quality of life got lower and lower. And it was incredibly frustrating that it messed up my life so much. It made my fatigue so much worse, my debilitating fatigue. It made my brain fog so much worse. It gave me dysautonomia symptoms. So I had chest pressure, like an elephant is just always on my chest, and that's never gone away. It gave me chest pain. It gave me sweating dysfunction. So my body like cannot regulate its temperature, and I just sweat. I have hyperhidrosis. I sweat a lot. It's just been incredibly frustrating. It just seemed to make all my other baseline symptoms worse as well. And so I kind of vowed at that point, I'm never getting a vaccine again, because that was an insane experience. And then when this came up to do the testing for SAD, that's the only way they test. They give you a shot of the pneumonia 23 vaccine, and then you get tested 4 weeks after you get the vaccine and see if you've had a response, if any of your levels go up. And so I said, you know what, let's do it. If I do have SAD, this could be life-changing. A lot of things would make sense. So the Cephalexin, which has been this mystery, this background mystery for the last like 3 or 4 years of my life, Cephalexin treats staph, which has been one of our theories of why it helps my horrible symptoms so much. My fatigue levels go from being just completely disabled and not able to do anything or like get out of bed. And when I'm on the Cephalexin, which is an antibiotic, so you cannot stay on it long term, but when I'm on the Cephalexin, I can go on like a 4-mile walk. It's crazy. So one of our theories with why the Cephalexin was helping me so much was staph. I have folliculitis decalvans, which is a scalp follicle inflammation, and some people who have that react to the naturally occurring staph on your body. And one of the things that SAD, specific antibody deficiency, staph can be like one of the things that you have this like deficiency in, as well as pneumonia. Pneumonia and staph are in that same family is what I've been told. So it would make sense that if I have deficiency in like pneumonia, staph, these things, that would make sense why the Cephalexin has been helping me. So I was like, this seems really important to get this test done. And I reframed it. So I was like, if I react to this vaccine too. We know I just react to like all vaccines, but I went into it really positive and really hoping that nothing would happen, that I would be totally fine, and that unfortunately just wasn't the case. So I have been on Cephalexin when I got this vaccine. So like a week before I got the vaccine, I went on a 4-mile walk, right? My capacity was really high. I was able to do so much more than my baseline. In the days following the vaccine, I rested because I was like, they told me, you know, 24, 48 hours, you're gonna feel like you have the flu, you're gonna feel probably just really bad, you're gonna be really sore. And these are my symptoms. So right after I got the vaccine, they gave me a shot in my left arm. At first it was like, oh, that's like really sore, but whatever. The 2 nights sleeping after, my left shoulder was so sore, it felt like it had been dislocated. I've subluxed both shoulders before. It's really sore, it's really painful. That's a partial dislocation with my hypermobility disorder, but I've never fully dislocated anything yet. And this was way more painful than just a sublux soreness. So I was like in so much pain. Then that subsided. I was like, cool, but the fatigue has not. So I rested the first couple days. I was just on the couch like, cool, I'm gonna give this the full rest so that I can bounce back. And then it just kept going on and on. And by Monday, I was so fatigued that I ended up pushing myself into the fight or flight. I have had like 2 to 3 doctor's appointments every day, and I don't have the energy for that. And so the way that my body compensates is by, once I've progressively pushed myself several times past my capacity, past my limits, the signals of my body is, oh, this lion is chasing us. We need to kick it up a notch and go into the fight or flight so that we can continue to get things done and continue to do things, even though we do not have the energy for that. We do not have the capacity for that. So that's what happened. Last Monday, I went to the dentist and my nausea has been so bad that I was on the edge of vomiting the entire teeth cleaning. And that really stressed my body out, obviously. That makes sense, right? And so I pushed my body into the fight or flight subconsciously. I did not like consciously make the decision. I didn't know I was on the edge. That night, I ended up having an anxiety attack or a panic attack. I'm not really sure. I've not had anything like this for years, so I didn't know what I was experiencing. It was really, really scary. I just felt this extreme panic, which makes sense. When I'm in the fight or flight, my anxiety levels go way up, and I've been out of the fight or flight for a while because I've been so grounded and I've been very careful to do all these vagus nerve exercises and all this nervous system regulation. And over the last couple weeks and months, as I've been preparing to lose my really good insurance and go on PA Medicaid, I just had to kick it in high gear and get all these doctor's appointments and all these tests and all this special stuff done because I just won't have access to these doctors after the end of July. And it was way beyond my capacity, even on the Cephalexin. I knew that. It was just too much for me. And so as soon as I got the vaccine and I just didn't even have the same capacity that I had on the Cephalexin, that's what pushed me. The extreme fatigue levels pushed my body into the fight or flight. And so I just had massive amounts of anxiety last week because I also just like couldn't slow down. Like I had 2 to 3 doctor's appointments every day. So it wasn't like I could just take a couple of days off. Like, no, I'm about to lose my insurance in like a week. So I had to just keep going. I had massive amounts of anxiety. I didn't know what it was from. Now it makes sense, but that's been really frustrating. I'm just so fatigued. I have not completed my daily routine since before the vaccine. I've not been able to keep up with any of it. I've not been able to do anything physical, go on any walks. I was playing ping pong with my dad before that, not been able to do that. This is very terrifying for me because this is on Cephalexin. When I go off Cephalexin, which right now the plan is for me to go off mid-August, and just because I've been on it for a little bit of time now and they want me to go off so I don't develop antibiotic resistance, I am legitimately, I don't even know the right word. I don't know if terrified is the right word, but I know that if I stay at the same level of capacity that I'm at right now, when I go off the Cephalexin, which does give me this huge bump in energy, I have no idea what my new baseline is going to be. But if this is my baseline on Cephalexin, it is going to be terrifyingly low again. Either the same as after the COVID vaccine or even lower. That is a really, really scary thought. I've tried not to dwell too much on that because it is so upsetting. It's just very frustrating that, like, I don't know why I react to these vaccines. I know I have a weird immune system. I know I have a weird health situation where I just react badly to most things like supplements, medications, even foods. And this is why I'm so careful. I try one new thing at a time, a new food, a new supplement, a new medication, because at any time I could react to anything. And it's very frustrating. I really hope that in a couple weeks when I get the blood work back for the specific antibody deficiency, we actually get some usable information that we could do something with and potentially change my life that way, because otherwise I've just gotten this vaccine and effed up my life and my energy levels. Hopefully, right, fingers crossed, it doesn't continue, like at some point I just bounce back. But I've never bounced back after the COVID vaccine. I've never been at pre-COVID vaccine levels, and that's scary. So I do try reframing and saying, okay, well, now we just know that I react to all vaccines. You know, it's not just the mRNA vaccine, it is all vaccines. And so I just cannot get a vaccine, or I know that it will severely debilitate me even more and disable me even more, and my quality of life will go even lower. And it's already very low. So that just is not worth it to get a vaccine. So that's the reframe that I've tried to do, is like, at least I have that information now, right? I know that information. I know I can't get any more vaccines, which, you know, is frustrating in and of itself because I'm not protected against COVID. That's why I wear a mask every time I leave the house, because my body is under so much stress and pressure, and it's fighting whatever the hell is going on with it, with all my different lists of symptoms and diagnoses. And I just cannot afford to get sick with anything else or to get any more vaccines at this time. So I'd love to hear if you've ever had this experience, or if you have any suggestions of how to go through this experience. It is really, really difficult mentally and physically, and I am struggling a lot. And so I just wanted to update you all on my like current situation, my current baseline. Obviously I'm gonna keep trying to record videos, but once I'm off the Cephalexin, I have no idea what's gonna happen and what my baseline will be and what will happen there. So that is like an impending deadline that is really stressing me out. So thank you for being here, my friends. I know so many of you have been here through the worst times in my life and just have been so sweet and supportive, and I appreciate this community so much. And I'm hoping that this gets better and goes away, but I will keep you all updated, my friends. I will see you next week, and I hope you're having an amazing day.